Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the month of June. And I have been alluding to this month, actually both months of June and July, because here is where things are going to really get heated up, and we're going to have many events occurring these 2 months. There is so much happening. Now you're going to want to listen through this entire video to get the dates, because there's certain dates with different events occurring. I mean throughout this entire month. But before I do, I always want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to galacticenter.org. And there, while you're there, you're going to see all sorts of things that you're going to want to sign up for. And by the way, I have a new website. You're going to want to check it out. So looking at galacticenter.org, you can look at my Patreon page, all the beautiful, wonderful things that this spiritual community offers, as well as get in touch with my galactic planner, because if you want to know what's happening for you personally, according to your birth chart, go to my galactic planner. Try it out for a month. You are going to love it. So that is galacticplanner.com. And remember, if you have the desire to learn, to become my student, join my university. Go to my university website, which is universityofvedicastrology.com. So with that, let's continue on and look at where we're headed with this month, because so many planets are changing signs. Well, we just had Jupiter shift into Gemini, which is going to bring huge changes in so many ways, particularly with the media, with communications and travel. These things are going to go through the biggest transformational change ever. The one thing that has been lingering for a long time is that Mars, because it's retrograde for so long, it's finally going to shift into a new sign. So it's pretty much been into Cancer for almost 6 months. And remember, I am a Vedic sidereal astrologer. So if you're thinking, well, Jupiter's not in Gemini or Mars is not in Leo, it's because I do astrology from the sidereal vantage point, which is where the planets truly are. So bear that in mind before you tell me I've got the wrong signs, because these are actually the correct signs. So continuing on with this, it's going to be June 6th that Mars will finally leave the sign of Cancer and go into Leo. Mars is more fiery in Leo. Let me just tell you that. Leo is a very fiery sign. But what's happening with Mars is it's beginning to align with K2. And this conjunction, which actually doesn't happen exactly, but just being in the same sign together is practically enough. But they will align exactly by July 20th. So Mars will be in Leo from June 6th till around July 27, 28. And during this time, it's coming together with K2. When Mars and K2 come together, it represents danger. It represents violence, anger, war, terrorism for the most part. And I'm seeing the world is at odds with each other. And I also see all the political craziness that's going on in the United States. It is outrageous, because they're actually missing the point as to what is going on globally, which is a much bigger, severe picture as to what I'm seeing. But as they're fighting amongst each other, they're not looking at the big picture. The big picture is extreme. There is so much anger in the world right now. You can just see it with politics. People are ridiculously angry about everything. And this also trickles down into individuals' lives. People will be attacking one another, whether it's in your personal life or globally. This is a ridiculously crazy time. So there's going to be a lot of terrorism, and it keeps building and building these months. We may have a major attack. And I guarantee you throughout these months, there will be sporadic all over the world. So I keep saying planets are changing signs. Well, Mars has been in Cancer while it was retrograde for almost 6 months. And now it's shifting finally into Leo. Venus has been in Pisces for about 4 months. It entered Pisces around the end of January, and the last day of May, it enters into Aries. So this is a big change from that whole retrograde cycle. And Venus being in Aries will put a little fire to relationships. People will be more passionate, more driven. And, you know, there's going to be more anger too, even in our personal relationships. So another thing is that while Mars shifts out of Cancer, you're going to see changes in the housing markets, because Cancer rules families, home, and Mars was debilitated the whole time it was in Cancer. So it's just going to bring a whole different energy to the table. So the next thing that I see happening this month is actually not a bad thing, and that is that Mercury will conjunct Jupiter. And this happens June 8th. And what I think this means is that the negotiations going on with tariffs will be positive, even though I do see so many other things that, you know, maybe you don't see the positive coming out of it, because so many other difficult things are happening simultaneously. But I think Jupiter together with Mercury, because Mercury is in its own sign, it rules Gemini, this will deal with amazing discoveries and things, but most of all, things coming out in the area of the media. The media all around the world is so biased to protect their control and power. And let me tell you, you can't believe what's going on out there. They are trying to protect their financial gains. And let me just say, it's not for your benefit, it's for their own. But the thing that I'm talking about is that it's going to come out, and it already has. But people simply don't listen or believe. And I'm going to be talking about that too, because there are so many things that people are not paying attention to. I think it's because they're afraid to believe it. It's scary, but I'm going to get there in just a minute. But this June 8th, a lot of uncovering of facts. People will say it's not facts, but it is absolute facts, but they still won't believe it, because the media is that manipulative and brainwashing the world. And as I said before, maybe you haven't heard me say this if this is your first time here on my channel, they are not only manipulating people through what's being said, but through the airways, through vibrational energy. They are controlling people's minds. And when I say they, I'm not just talking about the United States. This is global. It is happening everywhere. But the cool thing is that people are waking up. They truly are, because it's not adding up. You know, ever since COVID, all the things they told us and we believed it, and then we come out the other side and going, wait a minute. This was not the truth or reality. That was a real defining point, the COVID nonsense that happened in this world. And yes, it was a crisis, but the things they told us weren't true about it. Where it came from, the vaccines, all of that. So here are some other dates that are really interesting, such as there will be a full moon June 11th, and this is going to be in Scorpio. Remember, I do sidereal astrology. Yes, it's in Scorpio, and that is an intense placement for the moon. It is actually debilitated, and transiting Mars is in a critical place around the new moon and the full moon. But right now I'm talking about the full moon. It will bring out chaos because this full moon actually lands close to President Trump's natal moon, and it will oppose his sun. But all at the same time, around this time, between June 11th and particularly the 15th, is going to be where Mars will square Uranus. That means an unexpected, sudden event that could hit. Could be President Trump, because I'm seeing that his protection is not there anymore, where Jupiter was in Taurus. Now with it being in Gemini, he has to be extra careful. I know I've been saying that, but there is just this crisis. I believe it's probably more about the politicians trying to get him out of office. I think that's what this is going to be about, around the time of June 11th through the 15th. But this is serious. Things in the country are being ignored. But here are the real interesting aspects that are happening. Actually, let me jump in here and tell you what's happening, because there are going to be not one, but two quincunxes which are forming yods. If you have no astrology knowledge, don't worry, I'm going to explain this to you. But this is a configuration of planets that when it forms, a yod means the finger of God. And really the last time I saw yods happening more than one was last September of 2023 and October of 2023. Do you remember what happened then? Yes, that was the attack October 7th in Israel. And I am seeing two major yods that are even more intense than the ones that happened in 2023. This is because Pluto and Mars are involved in these yods. And what is a yod said to be in astrology, whether you're doing Western? And really that's kind of a Western concept, because in Vedic astrology, they don't look at the sextile like the Western astrologers do. A yod is when two planets are sextile each other, meaning they're 60 degrees apart, but both of those planets form a quincunx to a third planet, which is 6-8 relationship from where those two sextile planets are from one another. So both those planets form a quincunx. A quincunx is one of the most difficult aspects. It deals with the energy of 6 and 8. The 6th house in astrology deals with accidents and enemies. The 8th house in astrology deals with death and undercurrents of major, deep, dark stuff. So what I'm trying to say is these 2 yods called the finger of God will be happening in June. So if you don't understand astrology, all you have to know is this is a major crisis period during the time of these 2 yods forming. And basically they are the last 2 weeks of June. And this yod, because it involves Pluto is actually in one of the yods, the apex. And that will be around the time of the full moon, because during the time of the full moon, we have Jupiter and the moon and the sun, because remember, a new moon, this is the new moon I'm talking about, that actually happens around the 25th, I believe, let me see, it is the 25th of June. And yes, this new moon will have Jupiter conjunct the sun and the moon, because the new moon is where the sun and the moon come together. They will be around 9 degrees of Gemini, and they will be sextiling Mars around 9-10 degrees of Leo. But Pluto sits at 9 degrees right there in Capricorn. Let me explain for people that don't have astrology knowledge. This is huge. Because Pluto is at the apex here. This represents that it's about Plutonic energy. Pluto was discovered in the 1930s when nuclear energy, atomic energy, bombs were discovered during that time. That's what it rules. It rules major transformational changes, and it does rule nuclear atomic energy. So I'm afraid that some of the wrong countries have got their hands on this energy and may use it against each other. Could it be India, Pakistan? Could it be Iran? These 2 months, things are critical in this area concerning the placement of Pluto. And I want you to know that with this, also, there's going to be around the earlier part of the month, I'm looking at where we have the Mars will be at the apex of the yod. And this yod involves where Neptune and Saturn conjunct around 7 degrees, sextiling Pluto around 9 degrees. But Mars, when it hits that 7-degree marker, and it is in a quincunx to Saturn, Neptune, let me say there are going to be explosive events that will reveal things that we didn't know. When does this happen? Okay, this is a biggie, because I've been talking about this one a lot, especially when I did my world predictions. And that's going to be around June 20th. June 20th, when Mars reaches 7 degrees of Leo, it's going to be exactly quincunx that Neptune Saturn, which that's another big one I have to talk about. The whole year, pretty much, Saturn and Neptune are going to be conjunct. They're going to come together, not exactly to the minute or second, but they're going to come together at 7 degrees of Pisces. And as I said, Pisces is about water, ships, oceans. And yes, I think when Mars aspects this Saturn-Neptune, that there's going to be some kind of explosive events involving ships and water. Now, Saturn-Neptune actually Saturn rules crude oil, the black stuff underneath the earth. Saturn is black, rules crude oil, whereas Neptune rules natural gas and anything to do with oil as well. So put those together, and Mars aspecting it with the quincunx, the 6-8 relationship, accidents, explosive events. You can bet it's going to have something to do with the water, the seas, and oil and gas. Yes, I've been saying for a long time there's going to be explosive events concerning ships. It could be naval ships with fighting and war. It could be some major oil leaks. And yes, we're going to have some explosive events with oil and gas. You better believe it. Possibly this could be pipelines. This could be oil wells, explosions. Be aware this is all. And not only that, with the way OPEC considers and puts the pricing on oil. Oil prices were supposed to go down, and they are going down as I speak, but I think something's going to change during these times. This is critical. And I also see where Neptune and Saturn coming together. Neptune rules illusion, Saturn rules reality. So the illusions will be exposed. In other words, all the untruthfulness, all the lies, all the propaganda that's been going on. I'm going to get to the one that bothers me the most in just a minute. But here's another thing that's going on. And like I said, all the brainwashing, all the propaganda, all the lies, that's all coming out. But another big change that we have, and this doesn't happen very often, is that Saturn and Jupiter will be in a square to each other this month. And this represents a big change in the economy. As things are going up in the stock market, this is probably going to be a down cycle as Saturn and Jupiter start to square off each other. So this may be another opportunity if you intend to invest, because even though I am saying the economy, things are going to shift, it's going to change with June and July, it's going to go back up again after those months. So use this time to invest wisely. But this Jupiter-Saturn square does not happen very often, and it usually has major negative repercussions on the economy. So there could be some kind of recession or something, but it's very temporary. It is, and that's very unusual too. So one thing I can say about this month is expect the unexpected as Mars squares Uranus, Mars quincunxes Pluto, Mars quincunxes Saturn and Neptune. So Mars is making difficult aspects to the 3 outer planets, which actually have an effect on humanity and the collective consciousness. There is so much that is being revealed and coming out. People have got to wake up, and they will. There'll be some that don't, just because it's kind of like they want to stick their head in the sand and stay there. That's okay, but at least the truth is out there. But aside from all of this purging and explosions and things in the economy, it's probably why the economy changes, is because of all the explosive events that I feel like are happening in the world with attacks and anger. So hopefully it is not anything to do with nuclear energy. This is my prayer, because that is so destructive. As you well know, those of us that are into aliens, they come around when we start playing with nuclear energy, because it not only affects our world, but it puts vibrational reverberations out into the universe, which is very, very negative. So the thing that I feel I've talked about so often, but it still is so amazing to me. So many truths are going to come out these 2 months. And so much truth has already come out this year. And it's just astounding to me. Astounding that really, I don't know if the media just put it out there and then it's quiet, where it's not going to talk about it anymore. But I mean, we pretty much uncovered the truth to JFK's, we did, the truth to JFK's assassination. It's not really talked about because it's so darn ugly that the United States government, with the vice president at the time, LBJ, were in cahoots and assassinated the sitting president, John F. Kennedy. Yes, it's out there. It is out there. And people pretend it's not, because it is an ugly truth. And yes, I don't want to dwell on it. But the other thing that came out recently was that the FBI, the agents of the CIA that work for the government, they said, yes, we did uncover alien crafts and alien bodies. And that's kind of like, came out and nobody kind of cared. Nobody kind of cares about the JFK or the alien thing. These are astounding. We've been searching for these truths for so long, and then they come out and everybody goes, well, so what? Really? It has huge repercussions for the future. And hey, if they're going to lie to us about these things, something that happened 60 years ago, and deny, what else are they lying about? And I think we're going to find out. And a lot of people will say the usual, that it is conspiracy, but the facts are there, but they still cannot believe. And it doesn't get very much airtime on the airwaves. That is so interesting to me. And then another feature about all of this is most people weren't around when JFK was killed, so they don't care because it's old stuff. It's not interesting. But maybe something on TikTok is. That's the level of consciousness we have going on our planet. So this is all in the makings, and these 2 months are the awakening, because we're going to see how much we have been lied to, what's been suppressed, and that we're focused on the bickering and craziness within the United States instead of the big picture of world war, of other countries attacking each other in a horrendous, horrible way. Yes, these 2 months we're going to see some major explosive events and death. So here's what I know. With this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, it's bringing out the truth and reality. And yes, there is going to be a lot of crises dealing with people waking up, particularly like from cults. It's like a cult that's been going on, and maybe particularly some very interesting cults, religious cults and things like that. People are starting to realize that they've been controlled. And when people do realize it, it's a really bad feeling. People become very, very confused because Their whole world was built around a lie or an illusion. But they've got to realize that hanging on to the illusion only suppresses the reality of what's to come, kicking the can down the road. It will change our world, and it will heal our world. That's the most important thing of all. It's going to heal our world. And let me say this too. This goes for everyone in their personal lives. If there's been something that you've been hiding or repressing, it's going to come out. And rest assured, the truth heals. All the control, the manipulation, people that control other people means they are weak, that they feel like they have to control others to feel a sense of power. That is really sick, because, as I've said before, real power comes from empowering other people, not controlling them. But a lot of people feel like when they control others, they're powerful. But they're not. That is an insecurity to feel like you have to have control over others. But empowering others is the true gift. And what is going to come out of this? There are so many beautiful organizations that, not even organizations, but just people that have come together that realize the truth, that being a victim is what holds people back. Embracing their own power and empowering others around them. This is the healing that the planet is going to go through. And it's going to change people's lives for the positive. And, you know, a lot of people keep trying to correct me in my videos because I keep talking about the months of 2026. Yes, I am talking about 2026. I know I'm talking about 2025 right now, but the progression of what's happening now will bring a whole new world by a year in 2026. That's what I'm talking about, because then we're looking at Jupiter will be in the sign of Cancer, which is its exaltation sign, and it represents spirituality and truth in its exaltation sign. And that is what we have to bear in mind. That's where we're headed. This is where we're all going to go. So just remember, there are a lot of dates and events and things to come this month that are going to change the whole spectrum for the world. And it's going to put us in a state of chaos. But as I said, it's time for the purging. It's time for the healing. And that is where we're going. This world is going to be different. People are waking up, and it's going to be healed. All of the unconscious illusions will be revealed. And it's your choice to see the truth. Go by the facts, not what you're being told. The facts are real, and they speak for themselves and will uncover the darkness and the ugliness that started, I think, 60 years ago in November of 1963. And now, because all this is being revealed, or is revealed, the healing has finally begun. So thank you for watching. I think I'll close right now. Remember, if you want more information on me, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. And if you want to study with me, go to my university website, universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.